Welcome back to The Big Picture. Can a sense of mindfulness and spirituality be beneficial in or to politics? Marianne Williamson thinks so. Williamson is a best-selling author known for her spiritual guidance and books like A Return to Love, Reflections on the Principles of A Course in Miracles. But now she's taking her perspective to a new arena, politics. Williamson is running for Congress as an independent, seeking to win the seat that's being vacated by Henry Waxman in California, and to bring some wisdom to Washington, D.C. Joining me now to talk more about her political ambitions and the relationship between spirituality and politics is Marianne Williamson, author of the bestseller A Return to Love and candidate for Congress in California's 33rd District. Marianne, welcome back.
Oh, thank you so much, Tom. How are you? And thank you for having me.
I'm great, and I hope you are too. How's it going? How's the campaign going? And what provoked you to first enter politics?
Well, it's going great. It's going great because I think I'm speaking into a listening that represents a conversation happening all over this country. And why I chose to run for office is because I think with a lot of the issues that you discuss on your program and that a lot of us feel, there's a limit. There's an increasing sense that there's a limit to what we can do from the sidelines. There's a limit to what we can do from, online petitions. At a certain point, we have to take a conversation that is clearly rumbling up everywhere, that you cover every day, and have more candidacies, more actual, credible, viable candidacies that are based on these ideas.
There's, I think, a broad consensus in America that our politicians are following the people who write the checks and not much else. Rather than their hearts or minds or even conscience. How do you bring that to Washington, D.C., Marianne?
You loudly and passionately, to the best of your ability, proclaim that humanitarian rather than economic principles should guide our civilization, that we do need a politics of conscience, and that it is not naive, fuzzy-brained thinking to say that love should be the bottom line in politics as well as everything else. People who say that this is naive, the fact that there should be conscience, that there should be a greater sense of reverence for the earth and a reverence for what it means to be human within a larger moral constellation. People who say that that's naive, my response to that, Tom, is that I believe that thinking we're going to thrive as a human civilization for another 200 years, if we do not begin acting in a more deeply sane human way, if we think we can go along in this reckless, irresponsible way forever and that would be sustainable, that's what's naive to me.
Wasn't there a time, Marianne, I'm thinking, neither one of us are around for it, but we can certainly learn about it. The Dust Bowl era, the 1930s, people were literally starving. We had a horrible depression. Franklin Roosevelt came along and said, we're going to heal the economy, we're going to put people back to work, and we're going to heal the environment. He stopped the Dust Bowl with the CCC, the Civilian Conservation Corps, planting millions of trees across America. We're now facing an epidemic of homelessness. 10 million people have lost their homes from the bankster crisis of 2008. And we've got this global warming doom scenario if we don't do something about it. Is history repeating itself?
Well, I don't know if history is repeating itself so much as that this is a unique moment in history when we are allowing propaganda to be more powerful than the sanity and reasonableness of the American people. You know, abolition didn't grow up out of a political party. It emerged from the conscience of the people. And that is the same thing with women's suffrage, and that is the same thing with the civil rights movement. The people ourselves know better than to think that the environment is just some fringe issue. We know better than to think that the extraordinary economic injustice in this country, the systemic economic disparity, is somehow a fringe issue. And so the average American person needs to start speaking up now. The problem isn't just that propaganda is loud. It's that we're whispering in too many cases. The problem isn't just that money is so loud. It's that we ourselves need to remember the greatest traditions of the American people, including what you just said with Franklin Roosevelt, and begin owning once more the role of citizen. You know, we have become Stepford citizens, Tom. And, you know, it's just a spectator sport, and we watch the political class do its thing. So I think we need a national movement. We need a pro-democracy movement. This is not a time in America to be numb. This is not a time to be quiet about things that matter most, as Martin Luther King would say. And I believe we need to actually mount and support actual congressional candidacies. Candidacies in races all across the board, which actually stand on these things that so many of us feel are important.
Marianne, we have just a minute left. If you're elected to Congress, what are the first things that you would be doing?
Well, the most important issue to me is getting money out of politics, Tom. It is the issue underlying all the other issues. It is the cancer eating our democracy. We will never be able to deal adequately with climate change as long as the oil companies dominate. We won't be able to deal with GMOs, herbicides, pesticides, and other corruption in our food supply as long as chemical companies and big agricultural companies dominate. We'll never have universal health care as long as health insurance companies and pharmaceutical companies dominate. So one of the reasons I'm running, the primary core of my campaign, the cornerstone here, is that I would do whatever possible to help magnify the conversation already going on in Congress and also outside of Congress to build all the way, all the interim steps, as well as all the way to preparing a constitutional amendment to send to the states for ratification, outlawing the undue influence of money and establishing that corporations do not have the rights of personhood. That would be my main issue, and all the attendant issues of shrinking civil liberties, expanding corporate influence, and domestic surveillance. But to me, getting that money out of politics is the most important underlying issue.
So spot on. I think it's MarianneForCongress.com, isn't it, Marianne?
Yes.
Great. Marianne Williamson, thanks so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you.